Welcome to Community Conversations. I am Queen Miss Ebony J, and you're listening and watching 1230 The Buzz, your talk station, 101.1 The Wiz, and 100.3 Cincy's R&B station. Of course, I love to come in here on Community Conversations and talk about the great things happening in our community and how nonprofit organizations are making a difference. And today, I have in the studio with me two kings. Mr. Carlton is in the building. Carlton Collins, who is the Chief Strategy Officer of Real Innovation Solutions for Entrepreneurs. And we also got the president, Mr. Mark Givens, on the phone line. Howdy, Kings. How y'all doing today?
Wonderful. How are you, Ebony?
Blessed and highly favored.
You know, ain't that it? It could always be worse, but we here.
Absolutely.
So,
And that means we got a chance to change some things.
Yeah, right? So tell everybody about Rise, just in case they are not familiar with Rise. Tell us what your organization is and what you all do.
Well, we were established just over 12 years ago with the idea of just helping small businesses have a fair opportunity of learning how to scale their businesses with the primary focus on minority-owned companies. Just because of the situation of not having access to resources and contacts, and even understanding some of the landscape of doing getting involved with government contracts and business education. We wanted to take those companies from being hobbies to where they're actually, commerce, making enterprises, and where they can start creating jobs and really doing some positive things for the community.
You said 12 years, and I'm telling you, Mr. Mark, I felt so old. I remember when you started your business. And just for those that do not know, this is a real organization. They do real stuff and serious over there. Because when I had my idea about being in media and trying to figure out how to start my company, I was able to go over to Rise. So, gotta say, the business is so legit. And I want to ask you this because COVID has happened now. What are you all seeing are some of the barriers that African-American businesses face?
Well, the funny thing about it is that in Cincinnati, in terms of business, it didn't change the landscape that much, right? I think more people, because of COVID, because we had a chance to sit down, because a number of people got laid off, it made them really question and really look at where their passions lie, and even ask the question of why God put them on this earth, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is tied into entrepreneurship, the business opportunity that God gave you a vision for, and our thing has been just to help people out in the process. But part of the reason why I say things haven't changed is because we don't have enough of a conversation around the economics that are going into, black entrepreneurship in the city of Cincinnati. We don't have enough conversation about that, right? And when we look at the state of our communities, a major reason for that, and particularly majority black communities and black spaces, and even you talk about the gentrification, the only reason gentrification happens, or a major factor for it, is because we don't have a tax base, right? We don't have business taxes in those areas that stop gentrification from happening. And so when you're talking about, I got some crazy stats for you, Ebony, and hopefully the listeners will appreciate them. So found out something crazy, that 49% of the black women in Cincinnati make less than $15 an hour.
Wow.
49%. That just came out recently. But then when you look at the the gross domestic product, so that's all the products that we sell in the city of Cincinnati. So the headquarters, right? So you're talking about Procter & Gamble and Kroger and Johnson & Johnson and Great American Insurance and all of those companies and all the other smaller companies as well, right? The gross domestic product, so how much all of them make, is $141 billion. there was a study done between the African American Chamber as well as the University of Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
First study of its kind, looking at Greater Cincinnati as a whole, and came back with $1.4 billion. That includes, Hightower Petroleum, which they're at like $450 million by themselves as a company. They're the number one black-owned company in the Greater Cincinnati area. So that means black business represents less than 1% of the money that's being made in our city. And then if you take just the top 5 businesses, black-owned businesses, that equals $900 million of that $1.4 billion. That's just the top 5. So you're talking about every other business, black business in the city of Cincinnati, in Greater Cincinnati, is representative of $500 million.
Right.
But we're 42% of the city. That's the crazy thing about it. We haven't been having this conversation around economics.
This is mind-blowing. So what is it that we can do?
Well, that's why we exist. Business legitimacy is so important. What it is that we have to be able to do this work ourselves. We can't keep waiting for someone to help us. People don't mind collaborating with us, but what we have to do is that we have to create legitimate businesses. Like I said earlier, we have to get away from having hobbies, and not getting a legitimate business license and tax ID number. You have to participate. And so we're here to help educate, those entrepreneurs to where they can scale and stay away from running into walls and being discouraged because they don't know the next steps. Because one of the things that our motto is that we help protect your business with knowledge. You have to be knowledgeable about what's going on, and everyone can't go to a university or a 2-year technical school or whatnot to get an education. Well, you can come and sit down with us, and we'll assess your situation and put together a plan, a roadmap for your business to scale. And that way we can penetrate our community, because we're likely going to do what? Generate revenue and bring it back to our community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's important. We must do that. We must sit back and look at our education systems and help support. If you're an alumni of one of the high schools public schools here, you should be participating. If nothing but giving them, $20 a month towards, the coffers, to build. But especially if you got, several thousand of us that are living here in the city, supporting those schools where they can have the tools and the resources to grow.
Yes.
And I think a major part of it as well is that we have to recognize something about, this here city. Because of all the corporations that are here, including the GEs, but we had, my grandfather worked for the post office, but my great-grandfather worked for General Motors, right? We've had skilled labor because of the corporations that are here for, generations. We're not devoid of skills, right?
Right.
We know how to do things. There's not, you see, it's funny, we all get a chance to see different people from Cincinnati get out of here, and then they go off and they thrive, and they're very successful in what they do. I always say we have a city mentality in country surroundings.
Yeah.
So we know how to fit in everywhere, right? And because of that gives us a competitive advantage. I truly believe that, right? Because the thing that brought Mark and I together is we both ended up having, we both started our journey in terms of entrepreneurship, both in Atlanta. So we got a chance to witness a black community, really it's all black everything in Atlanta. It was a beautiful thing, but the most important thing that people, they overlook in terms of the Atlanta piece is that black people have always supported each other in Atlanta. They always wanted to see each other win. They always were willing to pour in. It's not, I'm not giving this to you just to, expect something in return. And that was the thing that drew Mark and I together as business partners. You know, we're 28 years apart in age, but that's because we both spoke the common language of we wanted to empower black people right here at home.
So collaboration is happening because you both had that same goal.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love
Correct.
it.
And one of the beautiful things that has happened because of the COVID and pandemic is that, you know, a new icon of global economics have taken place. And what I mean by that is that the entrepreneur runs such a large operation. People, if you ever hear somebody say a small business, I say they never own one, because the rules don't change regardless of size, you know, when it comes to your business. And that, you know, and no one realized that the company headquarters of the owners are at the kitchen table now, in the basement, in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and small businesses that projects that work on projects that are a big business imagine of catching on. They're not only as emerging ideals, but as reality. You know, because that's why we look at the numbers. You know, we were listening to the governor, and he was stating that there was 77,000 new businesses in 2020 opened in Ohio by itself. Then you listen to the national reports that there's 5 million people that quit their jobs.
Right.
And then it's not just because of child care. That is some of the reasons or whatnot. But a lot of it is that people start to realize, well, wait a minute, I don't need the Lexus anymore. I can go ahead and trade that in and get me a couple of Kias, you know, or a van, and I can start, you know, working my business or my pickup truck to start my roofing company or my bakery or whatever right there in my kitchen or in my garage.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that's so we're seeing a lot of that, and we hope that more and more people gravitate this way so we can, you know, put together a sustainable plan. You know, one of our concepts is that Carlton just puts together a lot of the strategy. Part of his strategy is called the MVP. Explain a little bit about that, Carlton, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so for the MVP is really, so in the startup world, MVP stands for minimally viable product. So like, what's the most basic version of your company and its structure that exists that turns a profit, right? Where you have a very specific product that you're selling. And that process, we kind of created our own set of questions that we go through to look at it from an assessment perspective. And it's looking at it in 4 critical areas: business and capital goals, access to resources, and those resources are human resources that we're talking about there. Because a lot of people don't think about who they know and what groups they're a part of, and all of that plays a part to the early success of your business. Product development and quality, and just making sure there's an intentional process and it's well understood how you're going to stand out versus your competitors. And then marketing and sales vehicles, which are right up your alley, Ebony. We might need to bring you on board as a consultant.
Oh, you know I'm always down.
That'd be beautiful. You know, because as you heard him explain that, so that's a strategic direction assisting to shape ideals into business legitimacy.
And if you cover all those areas, for real, you're good.
Yes.
I like how you broke that down. Most definitely, I think that's always the problem. When people start businesses, they have no structure. And you always, I know even when I came to you all, I'm like, it's too hard to really think down and niche down. But when you niche down is when you start making money. When you're too broad, you're going to not reach your client and you're going to leave money on the table. You got to niche all the way down and really figure out what's that bottom line and what's the problem your business is solving, which is so truly amazing. So I want to ask you all this before we run out of time. What are some services that you all provide to people? Is it just the consultation part, or do you all do other things now?
Yes. Go ahead, Carlton.
Yeah, so for by all means, we definitely do the consultation part. We're always willing to, you know, learn more about businesses, different business models, and you know, one of the things we make sure we pride ourselves on is research and making sure we do our due diligence. to better understand even your industry and then help you break down and strategize how you can be a better entrepreneur.
Yes.
You know, Mark mentioned protecting your business with knowledge, but we also believe that the entrepreneur has to grow with the business, and the business has to grow with the entrepreneur, right? Your business is never going to be as successful or more successful than the amount of knowledge that you have. So you have to be a constant learner in this process, and that's how, you know, yes, we're both entrepreneurs, but education has been a huge part, and teaching has been a huge part of what we've both done in our careers. And, you know, with that, yes, we do some of the one-on-one consulting, but we're actually going to be working on more of a model that focuses around group training, group coaching, building groups with, and now you can be a little bit more accountable because you're working together in a cohort type of fashion, and then still providing as much education as possible. We're soon going to launch Rise Business Academy fully. You can join the group on Facebook as well. But we're going to launch that. We've already looked at 200 courses and started gathering the expertise necessary to train up as many people as possible. But the trainers and the education comes from people who look like you. And that's a huge part for us. And just understanding the values that we have, right?
Yeah.
One of the big things that we always say to our clients is we become your team. We become, you know, an additional resource. You can call us, you can bounce ideas off of us. But most importantly, we can help you clarify your vision and you know, get it to the world. Because, and I'll leave on this, one of my favorite quotes from Howard Thurman, who's a famed theologian. He said, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is more people who come alive.
Yes. I love that. Real innovation and solutions for entrepreneurs. Make sure you log on to their website so you can learn more. They have a Facebook group. Make sure you join the group so you can be more a part of getting those resources, getting the help you need. Mr. Carlton R. Collins is the Chief Strategy Officer, and then we have the President, Mr. Mark Givens, on the line. Before we go, in case there's an entrepreneur listening right now and it's like, you know, in business or maybe considering starting their business, what do you want them to know before they go to the website and try to book?
Is that we specialize in specifically designing our services around the client's needs, using a system of analytics, understanding the capital needs, and then also understanding what it would take to execute. And they can find us at risebusinesssolutions.com, and our links for our social media and Facebook page for the Academy is definitely on the website. Or you can call us at area code 513-652-8495.
Thank you both for coming on and sharing all of this information.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. We appreciate you, Queen.
I love the stats y'all drop too, because everybody is, look, the business and relationship between the employer and the employee has changed so much. I get calls every single day just with people struggling to get great help, but it is because of what you all said. They've tapped in and figured out how to, you know, save more time and work less. We want to work less and make more.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely.
I can be smart with it, right?
Yes. There's nothing wrong with it. It's 1230 The Buzz, your talk station on 101.1. It's 1230 The Buzz on your talk station, 101.1 The Wiz, and 100.3 Cincy's R&B station. Community conversations highlighting Rise, innovation, and solutions for entrepreneurs. If you're an entrepreneur and you are trying to figure out how to rise your business, then you might want to go ahead and connect with Rise. Log on, learn more, and I'll see you next week only right here on Community Conversations.